Let me share my screen here. Hello. To you, either of you. There we go. To make it all the way and then slide over, right? Tell me when it's clear. Okay. Okay. So our speakers, can you guys hear me okay? Just give me a nod, a thumbs up. Perfect. Super excited to bring these folks to you. So some of them are my students from Bellevue High. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I'm a counselor at Bellevue High. And some of them are from some of the other high schools. So we're going to go around and I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves, to tell you which high school they graduated from in the district, where they went to college or are going. So some of them are going to college right now, and some of them have already graduated and are working. And then they'll tell you also what they majored in. So we'll start here with Mr. Williams, Reese.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Reese. I went to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo. Graduated in December of 2022. And I majored in political science and focused on international relations and pre-law.
And he's a Bellevue High grad, did you say that?
And I went to Bellevue High, that's right. Yes.
Thank you, Reese. Awesome. Okay, so you guys can just go in the intern in the list that we had. I think you're next.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Akshita. I went to Newport High School, graduated from there in 2019, and then I studied bioengineering at UPenn, and I graduated in 2023. And I think I hit everything on the list. And then, yeah, live in Philly.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, 3-hour time zone difference for her, so it's 10 something. Thank you. Okay. And next, Peggy.
Hello, I'm Peggy. I graduated from Bellevue High School in 2017. For my undergrad, I went to college at Quest University, Canada, so in Squamish, British Columbia, Canada. And then currently I'm pursuing a dual master's degree in Michigan at the University of Michigan. So for my undergrad, I studied applied environmental sciences. And then right now I'm in a dual degree program called Engineering Sustainable Systems.
Impressive. Thank you. And next, Jamie.
Hi, my name is Jamie Zimmerman. I graduated in Newport High School in 2021, and I'm currently studying architectural engineering at Cal Poly SLO. Just thanks.
Yay, thank you. And next, Robbie.
Hi, I'm Robbie. I graduated Bellevue High School in 2019, and I currently go to the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and I'm majoring in consumer behavior and marketplace studies with a certificate in entrepreneurship.
Thank you. And last, we have Aiden.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I graduated from Newport in 2022. I currently attend Purdue University studying cybersecurity with a minor in naval science. I'm part of the Marine Corps ROTC program.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so we'll kind of go in that same order. If you guys can tell us a little bit about what drew you to apply to universities and to select a university outside of Washington State. We'll start with Reese.
Yeah, so should I introduce myself or not?
Oh, yes. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
No, you're
yes.
so good. Just don't
right.
want to go too far before.
Thank you, Anne.
No worries, no worries. I'm Anne. I graduated Bellevue High in 2021. I'm currently at MIT in Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm double majoring in computer science and business analytics.
Wonderful. Sorry about that. Okay, back to you, Reese.
Yeah, so probably the biggest draw was just to simply experience someplace new. I'm born and raised in Bellevue, and I wanted to get out of the state, and I felt like it was fitting for the next stage of my life to be in another place. and I wasn't opposed to staying in the state, but I just really enjoyed my visit at Cal Poly SLO, and that was that.
Awesome. Okay, so you guys can just go in order and jump in.
Yep. So for me, I only went to Newport 10th through 12th grade because I came from a family that moved around a lot. And I had at that point lived a lot on the West Coast, having lived in California before that. So I kind of wanted to try living in the East Coast, and a lot of the schools that I applied to were located over there. As far as like what drew me to Penn, I actually got in off of the wait list. So I was originally committed to go to a different school in upstate New York, so still on the East Coast, but ultimately a lot of it had to do with Penn's program and the learning offerings that were there that drew me to go there.
Wonderful, thank you.
In my experience, so leaving both the state and then the country to go to First Quest for my undergrad was mainly driven by the really unique program that they had there that they were offering. They, similarly to Colorado College, offered classes on the block schedule, which is taking one class at a time for 3.5 weeks. And it's a highly intensive environment, but it allows you to really like hone in and specialize on a certain subject for that given time. So that drew me there. And then for my graduate degree, leaving the state again was fueled by just the engineering sustainable systems really only being offered mainly on the East Coast, and having Michigan's be a very like highly acclaimed program.
Great, thank you. So I guess, Anne, you're next, yeah.
I can go, yeah. For me, I think it was very much also just wanting to experience a different state and kind of different location. I had also spent my entire life in Washington, and I have kind of always wanted to see what the Northeast was like, and visiting different cities, kind of Boston felt like the kind of good mix between a large city and kind of a small enough environment that it's not like as busy as New York and such. And so really kind of the city of Boston and wanting to be a little bit in a different environment drew me away.
Awesome, thanks, Anne. Jamie?
Hi, so I had a very narrow scope of colleges to pick from because I had decided very early on that I wanted to study structural engineering, and specifically, which is like kind of like a subset of civil engineering, and which my major is called architectural engineering. It's a little confusing, but there's only so many colleges and universities in the country that were accredited. And so that really narrowed down the scope of where I was looking just from the start. And it just so happened that Cal Poly has many different, like really well-established and like just really well-established programs. And one of them was specifically in the realm of the built environment. And so I definitely chose it for the education. But it was just an added bonus that it was a great location, and I love the Central Coast down here. It's very nice.
Great, thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, I chose to go to Wisconsin just simply because I grew up in Washington my whole life. I knew I really enjoyed living in Washington, so I thought, why not go try something new? I had honestly been to the East Coast growing up with my family, my mom and dad both being from there, but had never been to the Midwest at all. And so honestly, going to Wisconsin for school was the first time I had actually visited the campus, but I had heard great things from cousins that had gone there, and then just people that had gone there prior to me. And so I thought, why not go to a place that has extremely different climate than Washington, and has some good programs in both athletics as well as school, that would interest me.
Wonderful, thank you. And Aiden?
Purdue is ranked very highly for cybersecurity, so that was one of the biggest factors that pulled me towards Purdue. After growing up in a very strict Asian household, I sort of wanted to get away from all of that and sort of gain my own independence and make my own decisions.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, next let's go with, did you guys take AP or college in the high school classes or tech prep classes in high school? And did those classes help you at these out-of-state schools that you attended? Did they count towards your degree or help you to graduate early? If you could each tell us a few words about that.
Yeah, those classes were huge. So I think I took maybe 9 or 10 APs and then all the other technical classes that double counted for community college credits. And for whatever reason, Cal Poly is very, very generous with accepting AP scores and those community college credits as well. So if you're looking at out-of-state schools, definitely do your research, look at that. And that information may be buried, but now they're probably more open about it. But it was hard to find in the past. So if you can't find that information while you're looking at these schools, that doesn't mean it's not there. So maybe reach out to folks that have gone from this area, because it can really work out for you. Like I graduated almost a whole year early because of those classes. And yeah,
that's great.
That's my deal.
Yeah, great information. Thank you.
I echo that. I would say I took 9 APs in high school, and at Penn they were a bit more strict about which courses they accepted. Like if they did take an AP class, you had to have gotten a 5 on the exam, and they took it mainly for intro classes like econ, stat, physics, but not for other classes like bio and chem. So it really just kind of depended on what area you were following. I was a bioengineering student, so a first year for an engineer looks a lot like just getting intro classes out of the way, which means intro chem, physics, bio, along with some intro math. So in that sense, AP credits helped a lot because I was able to skip over some intro classes and move up faster, which I think in college is really helpful because sometimes the intro classes are unnecessarily difficult, much more than they really need to be. And it can make it kind of hard to pass the class sometimes, or, get the score that you want. So I would say it hugely helped. I think it just definitely differs school to school how much credit they take, but I think it almost always will help. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I would echo like everything that's already been said. Kind of adding on to it just a bit. I noticed that even if your course or your score on the AP exam didn't meet the expectation for receiving a whole credit, sometimes what it let you do was sidestep and take a course that was potentially slightly more advanced, or rather than being in like a 201 course, you could jump ahead and go to like a 301 course or something like that. Just taking that like little bit of step ahead of your peers or classmates and getting the most out of your education without it being super repetitive from high school.
Great.
Yeah. For me, I think MIT is a little bit more unforgiving as far as AP credits go. They have very complicated rules about which APs count for what and when. But generally speaking, they are only really interested if you have a 5, like if you scored a 5, and then even then, almost all APs kind of only count as general elective credit units. The only AP tests that will let you skip classes are like calculus BC, and then the combination of the 2 physics C tests together. However, that being said, like despite the APs like not going toward like actual graduation requirements and such, like definitely taking the AP classes had a huge impact on my ability to then like keep up during the intro classes that were required for me to take. Like I don't regret doing any of the APs I took, and they were definitely useful.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Anne on this. I think APs, especially like the more rigorous ones, definitely help you prepare for college because it's a lot more independent study. That being said, like similarly as an engineering major, like a lot of times like those it won't transfer. Like I got a 4 on the AP Physics C and it didn't do anything for any of my physics courses. They would only accept a 5. So I would highly encourage dual enrollment if you guys can get transfer credits for that, or like, you know, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I would say like, yeah, it just helps you prepare for college and more independent study.
Jamie?
Yeah, I would agree with pretty much everything that's been said. It's super helpful to get out of the intro classes at the beginning if your college accepts them. But then also it's super beneficial to get placed into a higher class if the college won't accept the AP credit right away. For instance, I took AP Spanish in high school and had to take a language requirement no matter what. In college, but by then placing myself into a higher Spanish, it didn't feel so repetitive. I was able to learn more rather than just repeating things that I'd already learned in high school. So I'd say taking those AP tests seriously is very beneficial, and it also just gives you an advantage to your peers when you get to college.
Good to know. Okay, Aiden?
I was actually a running start kid, so I did part-time running start junior and senior year of high school because it was COVID. Like many other out-of-state schools, they're very strict on what kind of credit you can pull in. They only took Calculus 1 for me, but that was fine anyways because I take Calculus 2 anyways, so it didn't really matter. But you know, didn't have to take that one class, so that was pretty cool.
Awesome, thank you. So I think we'll pause on the other questions that we prepared, and let's see if the audience has any questions for the group, and if not, we'll go back to the questions we talked about. So anybody have a question you'd like to ask?
I see a question in the chat. Should I answer that?
Sure, I can't see the chat, and then we'll go with you here in the audience.
Okay. I can also read the question for others who are in the room. Essentially, someone is just asking, they're saying that they're super interested in biomedical engineering and finance and entrepreneurship, and they're asking if I'd recommend any of the dual degree programs at Penn and my thoughts on the program, on the bioengineering program there. And I can like quickly answer because I want to give time to other people's questions as well. But yes, I would 1000% recommend the dual degree programs at Penn. It's something that I wish I had done as a student there. And it's a very like strong school to do it at, especially since Penn has a strong business program and places a huge emphasis on entrepreneurship. So if that's something you're interested in, I really recommend. There's one in particular called the M&T program. That is a blend between engineering and business, and I think it's a really good one. And then as far as the bioengineering program, I'm a little biased, but I do absolutely recommend it. I think the professors are super top notch. I got to work on really cool projects like something called a human cockroach machine interface, which is where we like essentially used cockroaches to simulate prosthetics, and I thought it was very cool. So you get to do awesome projects like that, and you learn a lot. So yeah, 1000% recommend. But okay, handing the mic back to you.
Okay, thank you. That's awesome. We'll go with you next. Someone had their hand up back here.
This is more for Peggy. I was wondering how hard was it to adapt to the Canadian school and then move back to the American one? Was there time to adapt?
Could you hear that, Peggy?
Yeah, I could. I would say you definitely wanted to start early thinking about like ending up in Canada, especially because you have to get a work study visa in order to actually be like eligible for school in that country. But in terms of like moving from the US to Canada, it was very like low stress and very easy, especially being in Washington and having that just be right on the border for schools like where I went, Quest or Simon Fraser University, UBC. I also think that a lot of Canadian universities are very well known by American universities. And when applying for grad school, I had absolutely no issue with even my small Canadian university having all of the work and studies that I had done there be recognized. So I would say it's totally doable, and I personally really enjoyed it. There are obviously like differences when you're living in a different country and just some things that you have to prepare for in terms of visa related stuff or knowing about like healthcare or transportation and whatnot. But in general, I would say it's a very approachable system that a lot of people have dealt with before, and so there's tons of resources out there.
Thank you, Peggy. So we'll go with your question, then we'll go back to the chat. And
this question is for Anne. What kinds of extracurriculars have you done when you were in high school?
Could you hear that, Anne?
Yes. Okay, let's see if I still remember. So I was part of an assortment of different sorts of like STEM kind of clubs and such. When I was in high school, I was really interested in math and biology, which I don't really do so much anymore. So I was kind of parts of clubs and kind of doing some competitions in both of those subjects. I did have the opportunity to do a little bit of research with someone who I met at a summer camp. So I spent some time doing that. And then outside of that, I also volunteered at kind of a children's like summer camp in my neighborhood. I played varsity badminton. Those are the things that come to mind off the top of my head. I'm sure I've forgotten things, or yeah.
Thank you, Anne. So maybe Reese and Jamie, there's a question in there about Cal Poly. I don't know if you guys can see that. If one of you wants to take that question about California schools in general and maybe a comparison if you have.
Yeah, I would say Cal Poly is pretty unique among the Californian schools, at least ones of its size, due to it's like pretty much the only one in an actual college town. And SLO has like a very special and unique and just amazing, I don't want to say vibe, but that kind of idea. It's just a great place. So, and it's very good mix of people wanting to go there to have fun, but also like highly academic and very rigorous. So it's a good balance of that. And I think it's only going to continue to get more prestigious as time goes on. So yeah, highly recommend Cal Poly. Political science, honestly, it's a pretty good degree if you don't know what you want to do. Cal Poly, you have to declare your major when you get in, and I didn't know, and I did that. And it's also great if you want to go to law school or actually work in politics or do lobbying or something like that that's actually related to it. But I now work in global development consulting and work a lot with satellite technology and with NASA and the Gates Foundation, things not related at all to what I studied in school, which you'll find is quite common for people after college. But political science is a good starting point. Jamie, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, Cal Poly has like a very interesting approach to learning. It like when they say like their motto is like learn by doing, their motto is learn by doing. Like I was in major classes like starting my first quarter at Cal Poly, and they really just want you to get experience in whatever you are studying. And if you find it that like when you get in first year, if you find out that you're not interested in what you're studying, you can get out and go switch. It's not like you get to like another school like UW where you take general education, not to rag on UW, they're a great school. But where you take general education courses like your calc and basic like biology and chemistry, and then you get to your major classes in your third year and you're like, shoot, I don't like this. And then you're kind of like stuck there because you can't switch around. So in that regard, like I like Cal Poly because you start studying what you're interested in. I'm not sure how that differs for other schools. But that's just what I've heard from like my friends that go to UW. They feel very like pigeonholed into like what they like initially chose or got accepted into. Cal Poly is also very like unique because it is in a college town. It's not like most other colleges in California are like in big cities, like in the Bay Area or down in LA, and Cal Poly is like very much, there's like around 40 to 45,000 people living in SLO, and half the population is students. And it's just a great location, it's like halfway in between the Bay and LA, and you have the coast, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I hope I answered your questions.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you. So let's see if the audience has any other questions. Yes.
Is there anything you wish you knew before moving out of state?
Good question. Any of you guys want to answer that? Anything you wish you knew before moving out of Washington?
The drinking water, I'll say that.
What? What'd you say, Aiden?
The drinking water, I can say in the Midwest, definitely not as good as Washington State.
Drinking water, all right, good. Ian, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say two things. I think first thing is just health insurance in general. I know Peggy talked about kind of the difference between the US and Canada. I think like having needed to see a couple doctors and deal with some things in Massachusetts, like I didn't even fully realize that health insurance like existed when I was in high school. So I think like, and how it worked. So I think figuring that out between states is definitely something I realized. And I think the other thing was summer storage. I didn't realize like how complicated it is figuring out like the time between the last final and then the time when they kick you out of your dorms and then the time when you have your plane flight home, and then figuring out like the schedule between all of that, plus where do you store your things and how are you going to get all your heavy things to where you're storing them? And then when do you pick your things up? I think like that definitely logistically took me by surprise.
Great. Anybody else?
I'll add on, when living off campus, it can vary by school. Some places, the areas are not too expensive. It's very affordable for a college student. Other areas, you're paying a lot of money for a very unlikable living condition, to say the least. I actually transferred to Wisconsin from Santa Clara University, and in the Bay Area, the rent was very expensive for not a lot compared to what I'm getting in Wisconsin. It is much cheaper for much nicer, bigger areas to stay in, and it's a lot more enjoyable. But either way, I'd say it can be a good experience. You just want to look into that a little bit because a student may not live on campus all 4 years.
Yes, one question from the audience.
Yeah, so it's a question for Aiden Francis. So for Running Start student, so do you accept any credits from your community Running Start?
Yeah, so just so I heard that right, did Running Start or did Purdue accept any Running Start credits? Is that the question? Yeah, so I believe Calculus 1 was all they took. So I'm a cybersecurity major, and I took a bunch of accounting. I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do in college at the time. So I took a bunch of accounting, English, political science classes. So unfortunately, those didn't really help with sort of boosting my cybersecurity advance, I guess. But yeah, they only took my calculus, and that was about it. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, one last question, but then the bell's gonna ring. Go ahead.
I was interested in the financial aspect of going out of state versus staying in state. Did you find that it was easier to get scholarships, or did you find, what was the balance, or when you looked and compared, how was that? Or do you remember?
I can speak to that a little bit. I applied to a bunch of different schools, mainly, I think, or almost completely all out of state, as well as some private schools. And I would say a lot of schools do want people from out of state. So they do want a diverse population of people from all different areas. And there's lots of opportunities that they have to give students money. There's oftentimes, like, if you're in good academic standing, you can get something like a president's scholarship. And there's a lot of different subsidies in a way to bring the cost of it down a bit. Depending on the school that you go to, you're obviously going to find different amounts of that.
This concludes session B. Session C will begin at 8 o'clock. For your convenience, the session recordings and materials will be available on the college conference page of the Bellevue School District website next week.
So sorry to cut you guys off, but can we have a round of applause? Our School District grads, thank you guys, you were amazing.